Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. In this verse, Ashtavakra tells Raja Janaka, when you are pure consciousness, pure intelligence, you are abiding in the self, then how are you to be bothered by birth, activity, ego sense, etc.? This verse is one where Ashtavakra calls ego as false ego. Here, false ego has been termed as ego by Ashtavakra. As we all know, there are three types of ego. The false ego is when the living entity identifies with his or her mind body complex. Real ego is when the same living entity identifies himself or herself with his or her soul. Superego is when the same living entity identifies himself or herself with his or her being just a servant of God, the super soul, an extension of the super soul. These are three types of egos. But here, when Ashtavakra refers to ego, it is the false ego that he is talking about. Ashtavakra is telling Raja Janaka, you are abiding in the self. You are a part of the soul and the super soul. In that case, how can you have a false ego identifying with the mind body complex? When it is so, why should you bother about the birth and the activities? Here I would like to elucidate on this matter. You must have seen oysters. Whenever this oyster, which is actually another type of living entity, opens the shell, opens its mouth, and a drop of water by mistake falls into this particular shell. It could be a drop of water or a piece of stone or anything like that, a pebble, anything, some disturbance. When it falls accidentally into the mouth of the shell, its presence irritates the shell. To prevent that irritation, the shell uses its own saliva to wrap around this disturbance in such a way that the particular disturbance is cocooned by layer after layer after layer of shell, and that makes the same disturbance into a pearl. It is that pearl which is so expensive and for which there is a great demand in the market. Similarly, this soul is a disturbance in the material universe. Hence, because it has come here to lord it over material nature, this material universe uses its own saliva and wraps around the soul layer after layer after layer. This, when it is completed, it is called the birth of the soul as a living entity. These layers are: the first one is causal intelligence, the second is subtle and astral mind, the third is subtle and etheric senses, and the fourth is the gross body. This cocoon of four layers that envelops the body, the soul, makes the soul take birth in this material universe again and again and again. Ashtavakra says, when the soul has identified itself as the soul and has begun abiding in the self, why should it be bothered about a birth? Because though here, when the soul has started abiding in the self, even if it takes birth as a body in this material universe and becomes a living entity, it should not be bothered because now it has already detached itself from the mind body complex and the material universe. Hence, whatever this mind body complex does in the material universe, which is called activity, does not bother the self. The self is separate. It does not care what is happening to this body or what this body is doing. This is what Ashtavakra wants to tell Raja Janaka, and through Raja Janaka to all the living entities, both male and female. If you abide in the self and think about God as Nirvikalpa Samadhi, then you are not bothered by whatever activity this body is doing in this material universe. Both are material, this material universe and the material body. Hence, they interact with each other and come up with different vibes, ego senses, jealousies, evil, desire, etc. The soul has to remain separate and detached. It should not care about this. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular verse. If you sincerely feel that what I am talking makes sense, then please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that I can keep reminding you of my other videos. Please feel free to share your own opinions, ideas, thoughts, theories, doubts, fears, quizzes, etc. with me, because unless we brainstorm together, we will not be able to come up with some theory which is not only beneficial to us but also to the future generations. Please pardon me for any error, mistake, or blunder in my spelling, diction, grammar, etc., and my appearance, because when I am talking to you on serious matters regarding spiritualism and materialism, I cannot concentrate on these frivolous things. Till we meet next time in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.